A lot will be going on in this episode. We have one bass player leaving, another one joining, a grunge icon writing a song remotely, and a production that is an improvement over the last album. This is another divisive album as they continued with more of that 90s sound, so let's talk about it.
Every time we've done an album, we've lost a bass player and we had to start all over again.
Some people may think that he left because he had an offer to join Prong, but that's not how it happened. So let's discuss. He actually quit Flotsam and Jetsam, first due to creative differences. According to interviews with Gregory, he left Flotsam and Jetsam in early 1991 because he realized his evolving musical and compositional ideas did not fit the band's thrash metal style. He was still young and figuring out what he wanted to create as a songwriter. After quitting, Gregory packed up and moved back to his parents' basement in Detroit to write music on a 4-track machine. It wasn't until almost a year later that Prong's frontman, Tommy Victor, called Gregory out of the blue to ask him to join the band. The two bands had previously co-headlined a U.S. tour together, during which Gregory and the members of Prong bonded over a mutual love for a post-punk band Killing Joke and a similar sense of humor.
And this is our fourth bass player, Jason Ward. This is the permanent guy. He's going to stay.
When Troy Gregory left the band in early 1991, the group suddenly found themselves without a bass player right before they were scheduled to begin writing and recording Cuatro. Because they needed someone quickly, they decided to look within their own backyard. The band put a call for bass players in the Phoenix area, looking for musicians who could handle their complex arrangement styles. Jason Ward was a highly skilled multi-instrumentalist who had a unique musical background. He was not only a bass player, but he had experience as a drum and bugle corps musician. Ward heavily impressed the band during auditions with his busy, ultra-rhythmic bass style. Instead of just treating him as a hired gun, the band hired him on the spot and immediately integrated him as a full songwriting partner for the Cuatro tracks. When Jason Ward joined Flotsam and Jetsam in 1991, he fundamentally transformed the band from a fast, traditional thrash outfit into a more mature, groove-laden progressive metal group. His arrival directly coincided with the making of Cuatro in 1992, an album that sound-wise broke new ground for the band. Instead of just stepping in as a session player to track someone else's bass lines, Ward was integrated into the writing team right away. His distinct musical ideas, riffs, and song structures were heavily woven into the blueprint of the Cuatro tracks. Before Cuatro, Flotsam and Jetsam was known for blistering speed. Ward brought a heavy, thrumming, and incredibly busy basic playing style. Alongside legendary producer Neil Kernon, Ward helped shift the band's iconic landscape away from the chaotic thrash toward slower tempos, deeper rhythmic grooves, and a more melodic approach. You can hear his massive, prominent tone anchoring tracks like Forget About Heaven and Swatting Flies. Ward wasn't just a bass player. As I said before, he was a multi-instrumentalist, and he also introduced keyboards, piano, and acoustic textures to the band's repertoire on later albums like Drift, which will be a future episode. His versatile musicality pushed the rest of the band to elevate their musicianship. Flotsam and Jetsam had a reputation for losing high-profile bassists, first losing founding member Jason Newsted to Metallica, and then Troy Gregory to Prong. Ward brought much-needed stability, staying with the band for nearly 16 years as one of their strongest creative personalities before retiring from the road to focus on his family.
Now, does it feel to you that your music has changed because this one's like a little bit more melodic, or do you think that
Neil Kernon brought a crisp, multi-layered, and sonically massive production style to Cuatro? He steered Flotsam and Jetsam away from their raw, underground thrash origins toward a polished, modern sound. Before producing Cuatro in 1992, Kernon was known for working with mainstream rock and metal heavyweights like Judas Priest with Unleashed in the East, where he worked as an engineer, and he also worked with Dokken on the album Under Lock and Key and Queensryche's Rage for Order, where he was producer on those last two albums. Unlike typical 1980s thrash albums where the bass guitar was often buried under frantic guitar tracks, Kernon placed an immediate focus on the rhythm section. He captured a massive, thrumming bass tone from new member Jason Ward. He locked it directly to the drums to create a slower, punishingly heavy groove. This dynamic approach made songs like Swatting at Flies sound remarkably thick and punchy. Kernon did not just sit behind a mixing board. He actively contributed to the music as a performer and orchestrator. Kernon played keyboards himself on the record to build atmospheric textures as well. He introduced slide guitar elements to expand a traditional sonic palette. He arranged symphonic backing elements on the track Secret Square. Kernon pushed frontman Eric A.K. to move away from chaotic thrash shouting and focus on controlled, highly melodic hooks. The production brought the vocals cleanly to the forefront of the mix, giving the band a radio-friendly polish that still maintained a dark and aggressive edge. Released in 1992, Cuatro landed right when grunge was decimating thrash metal. While peers like Metallica simplified their sounds with the Black Album and Megadeth went in a similar direction with Countdown to Extinction, Kernon's meticulous engineering allowed Flotsam and Jetsam to sound incredibly heavy, modern, and melodic. Chris Cornell of Soundgarden actually co-wrote the lyrics for a track called The Message on Cuatro, rather than The Master Plan. The history behind this unexpected grunge meets thrash collaboration came about through a remote songwriting process characterized by the following unique details. Despite sharing songwriting credits on the track, Flotsam and Jetsam never actually met or spoke directly with Chris Cornell during the process. The band recorded the instrumental backing music first and sent the tracks over to Cornell. He listened to the music, penned the lyrics to fit their progressive arrangements, and mailed the unfinished lyrics back to them. Flotsam and Jetsam frontman Eric A.K. took Cornell's lyrics and recorded the final vocals in the studio. According to Eric Braverman, the band's production coordinator, Cornell was initially a bit hesitant to step in. He wasn't entirely comfortable writing for a band that was already established and successful, as he didn't want to intrude on their creative identity or dictate their style. However, he respected the music enough to see it through. Flotsam and Jetsam guitarist Michael Gilbert later noted that he still gets chills listening to the track. He praised Cornell as a phenomenal lyricist who managed to convey a powerful, inspiring message that perfectly matched the changing, more socially conscious themes of the Cuatro album. Cuatro performed moderately well in the charts, peaking at number 30 on the Billboard Heat Seekers chart, but it struggled to find a massive commercial audience. While it did not achieve mainstream platinum success, widely considered a creative triumph and a cult classic from the era of metal, here's how it performed across different areas. It didn't crack the main Billboard 200 chart. However, it did reach number 30 on the Heat Seekers chart, which tracks top-selling albums from new or developing artists. The album contributed steadily to Flotsam and Jetsam career milestone of selling over 1 million records worldwide, remaining one of their three most historically successful releases, alongside No Place for Disgrace and When the Storm Comes Down. MCA Records gave the album a substantial push, funding music videos for the singles Swatting at Flies and Wading Through the Darkness. Both tracks received regular rotation on MTV's legendary late-night metal show Headbangers Ball, which gave the band high visibility. Critics in the underground community widely praised Neil Kernon's polished to perfection production and the songwriting maturation. Many respected reviews called it a pinnacle of 1990s alternative metal and a win for the underground. Some old-school thrash purists were alienated by the slower, groove-heavy tempos. They accused the band of trying to sound like Metallica's Black Album or getting dangerously close to the grunge flavor of the week. Ultimately, Cuatro was released in October 1992, right at the absolute peak of the grunge explosion. Major labels and radio stations were rapidly pivoting away from thrash metal to support Seattle alternative rock, which severely capped how far the album could climb commercially despite its high quality.
We're going to tour until we can't even stand touring anymore this time.
Touring cycle for Cuatro was a massive year-long promotional run across 1992 and 1993. MCA Records put a significant budget behind the band, allowing them to cross paths with some of the biggest icons of both the classic thrash metal scene and the exploding 1990s alternative groove metal movement. To support the modern, slower, and groove-heavy direction of Cuatro, Flotsam and Jetsam are frequently paired with pioneering 90s crossover and alternative metal acts. On various legs of the tour, they shared stage with Body Count, Ice-T's highly controversial and explosive rap metal project, White Zombie, who were freshly blowing up on MTV with their Last Exorcisto album, Sepultura right around their transition to a heavy groove era, Testament, a fellow first-wave thrash band that was also adapted to 90s sonic landscape, and they also played with grunge band Newt Swirl and progressive metal band Damn the Machine, featuring ex-Megadeth guitarist Chris Poland. One of the most famous stretches of the Cuatro cycle was a specialized US tour where Flotsam and Jetsam served as primary support for the big band Merciful Fate, the legendary Danish heavy metal band fronted by King Diamond, and they also toured alongside Cathedral, the British pioneers of stoner doom metal, and Anacrusis, cult classic progressive doom band that's very popular.
Let me correct myself. Anacrusis is a progressive thrash metal band. For some reason, I was thinking of Anathema, the doom metal band. So there's my correction. Moving on.
The grueling tour cycle was the ultimate trial by fire for bassist Jason Ward because the album relied so heavily on the massive bass presence. The live shows required him to lock down the rhythm section tightly alongside drummer Kelly David Smith. The year-long chemistry built on this tour solidified what fans refer to as the classic Cuatro lineup, which remained unbroken for the next 5 years. Next episode, we talk about Drift, an album released right in the middle of the 90s and continuing with their groove metal sound that they started to develop throughout the 90s, as well as when touring with bands like White Zombie and Sepultura. Check out the playlist on the screen, it has all the episodes. And this is episode number 4. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.